What is good, everyone? Welcome to the Sneaker History Podcast. My name is Nick Engvall, and before we get into today's episode, I'm going to ask a small favor from all of you. We've uploaded over 350 episodes of the show, and we're slowly creeping up on 600,000 downloads. I honestly can't even wrap my head around it. That is insane. Thank you so much for listening and being a part of this journey with us. If you could take a moment to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, hit that follow button on Spotify, and give us a rating, it would be greatly appreciated. I'm looking forward to taking the show to new levels in the coming months with more guests from the community, talks with industry professionals, and deeper dives into the sneaker stories that shape this obsession we are all so passionate about. And your support is going to make that happen, so thank you in advance. One last thing before we get into this episode, do the right thing. Tell someone you like their kicks today. You never know how far a compliment will take you, and we all know how good it feels to be on the receiving end of some appreciation.
Jordan trying to shake off Starks. Oh, what a move!
LeBron James with no regard for human life. Final seconds. Bryant for the win. Iverson against Gill. The crowd on its feet. Allen for the win.
Welcome to the Sneaker History Podcast.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Sneaker History Podcast. And yes, we are back with another version of Coffee Time Kicks, guys. I have the designer from No Two Ways, one of my favorite brands. They've been doing some awesome stuff out there. I know you guys have seen my videos I put out on them, posts, things like that. But Mr. Rockwell Princely, what's going on, brother? How you doing today?
I'm great. Honestly, thank you for having me, man. This is a huge honor. I know we haven't really expanded much into the American market yet, but I would love to talk about my story a little bit and tell you what's up and what we're up to with No Two Ways. We've been going for 4 years now, so it seems like it's gone by like so fast, you know. But yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah, man. It's only been 4 years. It seems like it's been like you guys have been working like longer than that. I mean, I guess when you're doing something good, it just resonates, right?
Honestly, it's crazy, and every day something else happens, right? Every week, every year. Like, honestly, because at the end of the day, like, we're just a couple of guys with some dreams, you know, and we're trying to compete, or maybe our ego is getting in the way and thinking we're competing, but actually we're just a small little independent brand set in London, you know. But we like to think that we're pushing some boundaries or making people notice us, and just doing our thing and do what we love at the end of the day and bring something authentic to life, and that's what it's about, really.
Man, you definitely are making noise. I mean, when you have publications like Hype Beast, High Snobiety, Complex, you know, those are when we talk sneakerheads. It's kind of like those hubs, those really aspirational media outlets people want to have, and you guys are being mentioned in those articles, those conversations. I mean, that's really cool. I mean, did you guys think that 4 years ago, you and Caleb starting this is like, hey, you know what? This is where we're gonna be. We're gonna be having our shoes and fashion shows, which I just saw you guys had your shoes.
Yes, that was a couple of months ago.
Yeah. It's huge, man.
Wow, when you put it like that, it does. No, I need to stop every now and then and realize some of the stuff that's going on, you know, like, because I'm always just going at 100. So it's like, sometimes I just need to take a moment and be like, damn, we're actually doing something cool, you know. But of course, like, at the end of the day, what I like to share with people is, like, for me, the journey already it means so much, you know. I know everyone is trying to generate some level of success, or the meaning of success is different for everybody. But for me specifically, it's already the journey that I'm embarking on, and even the opportunity to do it, but then also bring people along with me to share that journey and grow them to even better than I would ever be. You know, that's some of my reasoning for success.
Yeah.
But yeah, over the last 4 years, like, when we started, even with the idea of No Two Ways, like, we had a couple of examples, some very awesome examples, because if anything, I was a YouTube consumer, if anything, right? So in that space, back in 2019, just before COVID, really all that there was in the ecosystem, in the YouTube, I guess, footwear scene, if you want to call it that, was very much the collaborations that you might know with the likes of Seth Fowler and Kais Omar, doing some bits with We Are Underdogs and things, and I thought that was really cool, because I was watching them growing up as well, and you know, watching their unboxings when I copped the shoe, you know, back in those days.
For sure.
You know, and I was just a consumer. And then what I then learned from that was that even though it was a very cool product and a cool story and all these other things, it was never really able to outlast a couple of drops.
Yeah.
So for me, when I was explaining this to Carl, we understood that there is space for someone to come in and really take it by storm, but for it to outlive a couple of releases or build a brand legacy whilst tied to a YouTuber in that time, that was like the hardest bit of it, because YouTube is generally considered anything that YouTubers create are generally merch related, or it's just an extension of them. Whereas with this brand, Carl didn't just want it to be an extension of him. It was more something that could outlive him and grow way bigger than he ever could. Of course, we can still use his audience to sort of capitalize on learning, on feedback, and have sort of a quick start on generating some information and data to see what the consumers want. But of course, this is only one subset of the market. So we really had to learn, what are we why are we doing it? What is it for? What is our design doing? Because it's so saturated, and it's tricky to come with something completely new, yet relatable, that people don't think it's just absolutely crazy and they're not going to buy into it. So it's really was about bringing community, bringing authenticity, being honest as well, and taking people on the journey, and not just showing them all the successes, but also the failures. And along that journey, people really started to feel like they were building this brand with us. So we definitely, at the very beginning, that was sort of the foundation, and trying to sort of get recognition, get validation through avenues such as community. So when I was growing up, I was very big in the Amsterdam community space, like the sneaker space in Amsterdam. I sort of got into shoes back in around 2008 when the Air Max 1 and Air Max 90s were very huge. And you had all the Pata collabs coming up. And I was that guy that would hide the Yeezy 1 Blink in the stockroom at Foot Locker at 14 years old, because I was like, yo, I need this shoe, but they're not going to sell it to me as stuff, so I'm going to hide it.
Hey, I ain't mad at you,
maybe I shouldn't share that, but who cares?
Hey, it's too far. I used to work at Champs, so I remember it's like we get shoes come in. It's like, all right, I can't afford this now. I'm going to put this on the side somewhere. Size 10 for me. I'm going to be back for it in a couple paychecks.
Exactly. That's exactly how it was. And even back then, it was like I think it was like 230 euros retail, which is crazy for something in 2009, right? Like Jordans were like 110, 120 at that time, or something. I can't really remember now. But now they're skyrocketing, right? Even the fours now are like 225 next year. I'm like, wow, this is crazy. But yeah, it's just awesome. And of course, having that community sort of growing up in that space allowed me to understand what they were very much looking for. But as well as that, it's like, even fast forward to now, I know there's so many subheaders in this whole conversation, I'm sure.
That's what I love it. I love it.
But like, just to jump all over the place, because my brain works quite chaotically. But so like being there at the original Pata Chlorophyll release back in 2009, and then going to Amsterdam a couple of weeks ago now to get the 2024 pair, right? Like, I saw some people that I saw back then, but I had not seen for that whole time, right? And it's like really interesting, like, to compare those cues, because those like OG heads, I guess, like, have now gone older and they now have out of money, and it's like, it's just awesome to see, because it's like just such a different consumer base than, for example, London even. So understanding that from the Amsterdam space, and then coming to London sort of 11 years ago, and I'm only really now getting into the whole community side of things, because it's sort of a new gen sneakerhead community here that I guess before was very much powered by the likes of like Mr. Bailey, Mini Swoosh, and these kind of people. Whereas now it's slightly more TikTok driven and slightly more Instagram Reels driven, and still very awesome people. Like, they're beautiful people, and it's just an honor for me to have been sort of in the transition, but also have known who came before and who's coming now. And to find sort of validation in both of those sides as the trajectory sort of changing in London is awesome. But yeah,
that's
I feel like I was rambling a lot.
No, because it's funny. Cause the things I was going to ask you, you just kept going. It's like, this is perfect. You saved me from talking a little bit. No, but so you grew up in Amsterdam, correct?
Yeah. So my family is actually from Suriname, South America.
Oh, okay.
So Suriname is in between the Guyana. So you got Brazil, it's on the north coast. So you got the two Guyanas, French Guyana and British Guyana, and then Suriname is in the middle. So both my parents are from there, and they moved in the 80s to the Netherlands. And then I was born in the Netherlands and grew up there, and then moved to London when I was 17. So yeah.
Nice. All right, so the big difference in sneaker culture you've seen between Amsterdam and London. I mean, in my mind, never been to either, but you know, you kind of get the snippets from social media and different, you know, outlets. Sounds like Amsterdam, again, more Air Max driven, seems like. I mean, London, I know still has their Air Max, but there's more of a soccer culture with sneakers there, right? More of like maybe your Sambas, your Gazelles,
It's
things like
super
that.
interesting. Yeah, super interesting because the way we look at our consumers, footwear consumers in general, and audience are a lot of different categories, right? Like we have
Mm-hmm.
our own consumer that we target, but because our brand is such an amalgamation of like people that are YouTube fans, fashion fans, footwear
Mm-hmm.
fans, others just like high quality stuff, but others are
Yeah.
like in finance, and all of these people have different subcultures and sub interests, and maybe don't even know that Gorpcore is coming and they don't actually care, you know? So it's a whole product cycle with early adopters, late adopters. I can go into that. But
Yeah.
like the contrast between Amsterdam, London, and even, for example, Madrid and
Mm-hmm.
Barcelona, where I spent some of my years as well, it's all very interesting because they're almost in parallel, but for different silhouettes almost. So, for example, Amsterdam, back in those days, it was very Air Max 1 and Air Max 90 driven.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas
Yeah.
London / Liverpool, which are like the two key fashion cities, I guess, in the UK, or at least the ones that we heavily look at, especially when it comes to like a wholesale distribution channel,
Yeah.
is the Air Max 95, right? So
Okay. Yeah.
all of those sort of translate and never go away. And it's interesting that you say like the football / soccer culture and the sambas and these kind of things are, of course, very prominent right now, or have been over the last 2 years. But then when you look at the total sales of the year for those shoes, like the Samba is there because it wasn't there before, but
Yeah.
like the Air Force Ones are still selling the most. The Air Max 95s are still selling the most. You know, Nike is, even though they're going through a little hiatus, I guess, a little bit, they are still dominating the sales market, at least when we talk to our buyers around the different stores.
Yeah.
It's just interesting for like the Samba to come in because it was a shoe that was always available, now has some mainstream relevancy and everyone has a pair, but it doesn't necessarily mean that a total year of that shoe outsold like an Air Force One. You know what I mean? It's very interesting and how you look at it objectively. But absolutely, Sambas and football culture and the folded tongues and the stitch details and all these things are definitely here and they'll stay for the foreseeable future for sure. But whether it will overtake some of the iconic shoes, I'm not sure, you know, especially if you look at 2025 when Nike is going crazy with the Jordan 4s. I'm assuming because of
everything out of everybody, man.
literally,
Like,
right?
take it all.
Like,
I mean, I know one shoe.
it's, yeah.
One shoe that I know is definitely I forgot about Air Max 95 in London. That's such a huge shoe out there. But the Stash, like rework, is supposed to be coming out. I know that's going to be a huge shoe out there. And I guess Cortez. I never say his name right. I feel like I know he's supposed to be doing another shoe as well, another 95. So I completely forgot about 95s and how relevant they are out there. But that brings me to the question of when I look at you guys' shoe, I see a lot of different things. Like the Model 1, if we're looking at that one specifically, the layering reminds me of something like the 95s, but then the shape reminds me of more of kind of that higher fashion. You're looking at like your Balenciagas, your Gucci trainers, and then of course material wise, all fantastic. But you mentioned the word earlier, Gorpcore. You guys have really like great materials that endure the elements. So, what was the inspiration specifically for the Model 1, since that was the first one you guys had to release?
For sure. I mean, I have the very first one right here, actually.
Nice.
I've got like my 7th favorite releases over here, but of course, this has to be the best. You know, this was the original release. There's actually a lot of things wrong with it, but it was purely aesthetics, right? Like the shape and the aesthetic of it, but it fitted half a size small and all these other things. But I mean, we were learning along the way, right? But yeah, to get into that Model 1 sort of design process a little bit, it was, to be honest, like we started even the idea of it back in November 2019, and we didn't release that shoe until August of 2020. That of course includes the production lead time and everything that comes before it. But yeah, I think we spent at least 3 to 4 months really diving into what the consumer needs and what they want and what are the things that we can sort of cover before you even get to the design. Because when you get to like unique selling points, it's at that time, again, we have evolved, the industry has evolved so much since 2019, but like back then, having those YouTube references as sort of the only reference point in that ecosystem, and the idea of trying to grow something real and authentic that would outgrow Kyle, those are some of the initial points, right?
Yeah.
The second part is like understanding, I guess, in a very much how Virgil would put it, like that you need a staple piece that really will always stay, that is timeless, that is trans-seasonal, that would outlive any other style that comes after. And that it was a challenge in its own, because how do you create a shoe that just becomes iconic out of its own right? And that's not something that's even in your control. That's very much community driven. That's very much opinion driven, right? And it takes time to build something like that. Sorry, that was the doorbell.
No, you're good.
But I'll get someone else to get it. Hopefully someone else is in. If not, it might go a few more times, but just ignore it.
Don't worry, if you got to jump up, it's all good.
Thank you. But yeah, absolutely. I would say that the Model 1 is almost a composition of multiple different silhouettes that we all love, but at the same time trying to bring some level of innovation into the world. There's about 8 different styles that I guess it could draw inspiration from. But for example, one of the bigger shoes, especially in Europe, in that space was, in my opinion, a disaster of a shoe, but it was the Fila Disruptor. And
I remember
that shoe, like out of nowhere, everyone and their sister had a pair, you know. I was like, what's going on here? Like,
it was the White Air Force One for women for a while.
Right. So, and because with us, like, we weren't just doing a men's collection, like it was a unisex UK3 to UK14. So I think that's US4 till US15, I think. And we understood that the women were very much wearing these Fila Disruptors, very chunky, all white shoes. And then the men were just coming out of this wave of like a lot of different Air Maxes, even the Air Max 270 around that time. Yeah. Of course, we had all these crazy collaborations a couple of years back, whether it's the 10 or the Sean Waterspoon and all these other shoes that really allowed newness to become iconic.
Yep.
Which is rare, right? Like, because normally, like, even when you go back into my collection, like, I've got a whole bunch of Jordan 1s of 85 or like the 2011 mags and all these other shoes that have, like, I have hit like legendary status, but because through heritage, right? Yeah. Whereas these examples, like Sean Waterspoon's shoe with Nike, the sort of hybrid shoe with the 97 and the I think it was an Air Max 1 outsole.
Yep.
The corduroy one. That became iconic in like 2 years, you know? So I was really trying to use these as case studies to try and understand what is it, like almost like a consumer psychology level of what is it that they value that means premium or means quality or means consistency or that just validates the brand. And sometimes it was as simple as you put 2 Jordan 1s back to back and the counter pieces didn't line up. So it's like a QC issue. If that lines up, it's a tick from them, right? They're already happy. You know, it's like simple production consistencies. Or if you're using tumbled leather, if one toe box is tumbled and the other one's less tumbled, just if it's not matching, like that's a problem. Yep. And it's actually a very simple step to match those pairs, even if the texture on the hide is not consistent. Like there is still a step you can do to match at least some of the pairs to make them look like nothing's wrong with them, because someone would never know unless they bought like 5 pairs and one of the pairs was more tumbled and then another pair was less tumbled, which is normal, right?
One by one, just like check it
right. But if it's the same pair, like of course you're going to notice. So it was definitely just trying to understand the consumer psychology and what was missing from the market and what people wanted to see. And what I guess, to fast forward a little bit, is what came out of it is, of course, a huge level of sustainability and sort of fair production wages, realistic expectations, especially in the workspace when it came to manufacturing of shoes, but also sourcing the materials. So that's a lot of things we don't even talk about.
Yeah.
But on top of that, there is a whole level of innovation that we try to put into the shoe, that because footwear sort of works in 2-year cycles. So I guess part of my concept was that I need to find things that people would want to copy in a couple of years' time, to the point where people would see that and be like, oh my goodness, they copied it from No Two Ways, you know?
Yeah.
So some of those elements came in where, for example, if you look at the eye stay, it's not just the average eyelets, right? It's like a webbing that goes from the collar all the way down to the vamp area to the bottom eyelid. And then it's hand embroidered boxes sort of separating the eyelets. And that construction, I think till this day has not been done, right? It's a crazy production nightmare, to be honest, because all of these things are hand stitched and the consistency of it's crazy. I understand why people don't do it, but these are like small things that we need to do to set us apart from what exists, right?
Oh yeah.
And then another concept is like, I mean, I'm sure you know, and it happens with so many shoes where the tongue like goes side to side when you're
I
wearing
hate
it.
that.
Exactly right. So what I designed was sort of a different and completely new tongue construction, which was actually inspired by the Asics Gel 5 or 3. I can't remember whichever one has the split tongue a
Split
little
tongue?
bit.
Yeah, the threes. Yeah.
Yeah. So just that sort of that idea of just trying to do something different on the tongue, because the tongue usually gets is what's missed in most of the designs, or they don't get enough love. So just trying to create like a new color construction and have the tongue always sit in the middle, or be able to sort of put it on the outside and always have it sit in the middle.
Oh yeah, I didn't think
just,
about that.
just a couple of things that we like to do. Over the years, I mean, we'll get into it. It has evolved, but for that first shoe, we knew it had to be some level of commercial. We knew we wanted to have some of our original brand colors in it, which was the ice blue and the orange.
Yeah.
And start to own certain details that would allow us to almost position ourselves as something innovative and not just following, but at the same time have enough mainstream relevancy that would allow us to capture some audiences that are late adopters or laggards almost, because they're as important as the early adopters are. Like these later consumers and audiences are as important, because they're the ones that will make your product life cycle last longer. Right. So these were some of the things going into the Model 1. But at the end of it all, after getting all that feedback, all these different communities, they felt like they built a shoe together with us. Right. So off the back, when we launched the shoe, it just felt like the whole world was with us, and we just launched it, and it just was crazy. Awesome. And we sold it out in 63 seconds, right? 750 pairs. And
really?
And we were like, oh shit, we're actually onto something here.
Okay, time out. Nick Engvall here. I'm sure many of you have seen the clips of the show across social media, but did you know that you can watch the whole episode, get early access to every single episode, and even check out exclusive episodes of the show? You can join our Patreon for as little as $5 per month, and even cheaper if you sign up for a yearly plan. It helps us keep the show going, and you'll be the first to know about everything going on in our community. If you can support, hit the link in the description to see all the options. Thanks for listening, and now back to the show.
63 seconds, it's it.
You guys didn't do a pre-order. You guys went straight into, hey, we're going to make a number. We're going to release this number and see what happens. Hey, in 63 seconds, that
was the first release, yeah.
Wow.
So we're now 40 releases in, yeah. But it was hard because, of course, MOQ issues with the materials, with the factories, with the suppliers. So we had to work around it a little bit. Luckily, we're quite well connected in this space, so we've managed to find some solutions. But yeah, 750 pairs. The only reason for that was because that's all we could afford.
Yeah.
Because we had to open all the outsole molds. We had to open all the, like even this little lace tip mold that's on the end. Like we could have just not put them on and saved like $1 per pair. But we were like, no, we have to do it. Like we can't be cutting corners. And then that first shoe, it was £90, right?
Okay.
Which was way too cheap for the cost price of that shoe. So the cost price was like 50, right? And we sold it for 90.
Oh, dang.
And we did that on purpose because we weren't doing it to make money. We were just trying to show people like, look, we can create a great product at £90 with awesome packaging. And look, let's see what happens. And at the same time, I was sort of trying to push like these other brands. Like how many pairs of Nikes have I bought now and the box has been the same? Like every now and then, you get a cool graphic or something extra, but generally it's, in my opinion, not good enough. And I love these brands, right? I just expect or have such high expectations, especially if the retail starts going above 200.
Oh,
and being
I'm right there with you.
Being in the backstage of it, like I know what the real costs are. So it's a shame, but yes. So that was the first release, 750 pairs. And then we upped the numbers at the end of the year to 2,100, and we sold out in 186 seconds. So we just kept going and going and going, and it just took off, and we had no idea. I was like, how on earth a YouTuber that's not known for fashion, footwear, or anything like that has somehow found its way and validated something in the sneaker space? And then we had Nice Kicks come in the other day, and they were like, because we were
Oh,
asking
cool.
them about this rebrand, right?
Yeah.
And they were like, whatever you do with this rebrand, the thing you need to not forget is that the last 4 years you've already cemented yourself in sneaker history.
Yep.
And I was thinking about that, and I was like, damn, because I'm always just trying to look forward and how we can do better, how I can grow,
Yeah.
right?
Keep growing.
When he said that, I was like, oh my goodness, you're actually so right. And like these moments like just make it all worth it, you know, like just people giving me just recognition like that is just, I can't, it's the best feeling, honestly.
Oh man, and you guys well deserved it, because not only did you guys come up with a brand from an original thought, you guys didn't come out there and say, hey, let's make this dunk like shoe or this Air Force One looking shoe. You came up with something completely different based on, again, you actually went out to the streets and like, hey, what works? What do people like? What can make us successful, but still be something true to us? So that's like awesome. Like start like that's point A, like awesome. Point B, you guys, I remember because you guys sent me the Just Whites. I think you guys
Yes.
did some retooling on that sneaker at a certain point. So
We did, yes.
I remember, I was like, just the fact that you guys were able to really steer, like change course of the ship. Like, hey, okay, we've heard what you guys are saying. We're gonna adjust this. I think it was like I'm holding the mochas right in my hand right now. So I know you guys. What is like the drop height of the heel? You guys adjusted.
Yeah, so there was a lot.
Sizing, yeah.
I got them here too. If you compare the release from 2020 and release from this year, I guess. Yeah, there was. I'll talk about the change a little bit if you like.
Yeah.
So yeah, the first comment on the original shoe was that exactly that. So the protrusion of this heel was going quite far out. Aesthetically, it was very aggressive, and it was like this wedge triangle shape. And some people compared it to the Huaraches or the Yeezy 700s. But actually, the last that was used, the shoe last that was used, was an Air Max 90 last, which is hilarious. I fused the Air Max 90 last with the width of the Fear of God's Nike basketball shoes, like the original like boot almost. Because that also had that perfect wedge shape that Lorenzo is so good at, but it was sort of translated. So I sort of merged a couple of different shoe shapes to achieve the shoe shape that we have. So we open all our own last to achieve the right aesthetic for what we want. But of course, this really allowed this angle to be achieved. But what was happening is people were getting stepped on. And I thought it was acceptable because like the NMDs had the same things, you know what I mean? But like people were getting stepped on and they just felt it was a bit wide. And then on the inside as well, there was this sort of triangle design here on the inside of the ball of the foot, which we sort of removed. And then when you compare the later ones, it's a bit more, as you can see, it's not as linear, I guess, but it's a bit more in. And then the inside doesn't have the triangle anymore. Yeah. But I guess one of the big issues we had with this shoe, which I think I mentioned, was that they're fit sort of half a size small. And the reason for that was when you look at this area here, the end of the shoe is back here, but the heel sits here. So you have this whole space in between, that's sort of dead space. Yeah. So even though the shape of the shoe generally was like the correct size, there was so much wasted space here, which was all padding. But at some point, too much padding will just make the feet and the volume of the shoe just be too small. So one of the things we did was we almost reduced this space between the end of the shoe and where your foot starts by half. And that literally covered all our problems. And these are like subtle things we, like you say, we don't really talk about. But if anything, the biggest change and consistency that we sort of progressed in the last 4 years is the production consistency, right? Yeah. So for example, with this little tab on the back, we gave them a measurement or like parameters that they had to stay within, but still like even this pair, it's quite loose. And this length, which is supposed to be 1 centimeter, is not 1 centimeter. And some pairs were better, some pairs were worse, but now consistently it's super tight, the fin, and it's always 1 centimeter, you know? So it's like these kind of production consistencies, it's just things we work on throughout the process that we don't always talk about, but it's kind of hard because we're a team of 11, right? And we're getting compared to some of these huge teams that have thousands of people, you know, and it's tough, but we want to accommodate everybody, you know?
Yeah, I didn't know you guys were just 11. Holy crap. I thought y'all had the bigger team. That's even more impressive now. Like, if you guys listening, our audience out there, if you have not tried one of No Two Ways shoes, I want you to go grab a pair. maybe it's a friend's pair, somebody to go grab a pair. Then I want you to go grab a pair of Jordan 1s, and I want you to touch the leather. And then I want you to put the price tag of both shoes. And you're going to be amazed because you would think that No Two Ways is charging you double what that Jordan was. How it's not a comparison. Like, how do you guys manage to not waver on your materials? How do you manage to have a decently priced shoe, but still are giving you like again? I use the mochas for example. There's all of the suedes and the leathers are amazing, but the one I always go back to is the just white. I tell my wife, like, when I open a box, I just like smelling it because the leather just smells amazing on that particular pair. I just open it up and I'm like, it's like a leather store. And it's just, and every pair I have is just, and from everything, like from this, I love the khakis as well. I love just the kind of that all season, like suede
It's
on
a
these.
classic.
Like, you guys have not wavered on your materials and you guys have been consistently like fair with your pricing. How were you guys able to do that?
So the material quality is definitely an interesting one and something that I have a strong, very strong view in. As much as the quality is important, for me, what's almost more important is the history and sort of the traceability of this material. It's generally not something that the public, I guess, cares too much about, and they shouldn't need to care about because I'm caring about it, right? And they trust that when they buy it from us that I'm considering this, right? But I guess one of the universal problems right now is the tanning process of the leather, where a majority of leathers are using chemical tanning, which is trillions of liters of water wastage, but also these chemicals are just bad for the environment and bad for your skin.
Yeah.
So what we do is we do a sort of hybrid tanning process that uses no chemicals, but it's sort of a veg tan process, but using a whole different more chemicals that allows it to still be sorry, not chemicals, but natural tanning agents that allows the leather to still be durable or long lasting or to contain the quality of the product basically. So it's really about that tanning process initially. Then where you source that leather is a whole other standpoint because the traceability and the GRS rating of all these different suppliers are very important. But it's one thing to say that they have these certificates, but it's another thing to still be usable for production once the shoes are made. So a lot of that process goes through chemical and physical testing of the actual leather before we produce the shoes and after we produce the shoes, because the chemical properties or just the properties of the shoes might change as the manufacturing is made. But in regards to purely material quality, it's interesting because a lot of people use vegan leathers or bio-based materials, which are almost as expensive these days as your nubucks and suedes and these kind of materials. But it's not actually solving the problem of finding a solution to having quality product, having sustainable product, but then also having a very long lifespan of that product. So that's a whole balance between when you choose materials for your shoes. But in short, to get back to your question, because I feel like I went on a whole production.
No, it's still in line. So it's perfect because it's giving me like kind of a deeper like insight of you guys' process, because I didn't realize that I'm no kind of materials expert. I didn't know it was a chemical process for the tanning. I thought it was just kind of an aging and just like, hey, we coat it and call it a day.
Yeah, I guess the main thing is that the percentage, I guess, of the FOB, which is the cost price of the product versus the retail price. And that, of course, in mass production, that would be like a $10 shoe that they're selling for $160, for example. So that ratio is crazy. In independent brands or generally in wholesale is about 3. So what that means is like, let's say the shoe costs $50 to make. At a minimum, in order to make some money in wholesale distribution, you'd have to sell it for at least $150 as an example. And a lot of brands, they do cut corners. And even though if that's their targets, they might make a shoe that's still $15 or $20. But at that rate, you really reduce the material quality of that shoe. And you start to skip corners and just try to become streamlined, because they also understand that maybe their audience, they don't appreciate like how you appreciate the Just White leathers or like an Air Force One with action leather. is still going to sell 10,000 pairs more every year than one that's super, super premium, just because of the reality of how all of it is sort of strategized, I guess. So it's all, they know, and they could make all these shoes at super high quality, but they're in a weird way, it's genius that they don't. And I'm also against it, don't get me wrong. But I see why they choose to do so in order to stay alive. And I think that's the sort of the key. But this is why we love to support independents, and they're trying to just disrupt a little bit and show the people what's up. Because at the end of the day, if we're charging this at 120 and we're sort of taking that market at that retail price, they're going to have to come with something at that price range. And in my opinion, it's one of the reasons why the New Balance 1000 came out, for example, this year, to try and fit that sort of consumer profile in that sort of price point category. I'll leave it there on material quality. I hope that answered your question.
No, it definitely does. Because, I mean, like I said, you look at so many other things out there. And it's funny, you're the second person I spoke with. So I did an episode with Brandon from Clearweather out here in the States.
Nice.
And Action Leather came up, and just is something that been used more and more to, like you say, kind of turn and burn to get these shoes out as fast as possible. No one's really questioning it. It's funny because it's like you get the bad quality, and it's not all. I won't say everyone's putting out bad quality. It's when you mass produce something, like you said, it happens to, it gets magnified, especially when you have these platforms like YouTube, like Twitter, like TikTok, you name it, where people are going to be inspecting the shoe on in the media. So like, hey, look, oh, this leather feels like cardboard versus this leather, or there's glue stains on all this. From every pair I've got my hands on from you guys, I haven't seen the glue stain. I haven't been like, oh, this leather is like not good or subpar. It is just, again, it's just a testament to you guys really paying attention and trying to disrupt, because quality is something I think it's becoming more important. Like I think back in, some years ago, well, let's say I think the height of like sneaker collecting before resale was a thing. I'd say anything from, I don't know, I like to call like 2000, let's call it 2010 to about 2014, 2015, like when basketball shoes were like really still in, like cared about the quality. They're like, I'm gonna go buy this Jordan, it feels like a piece of paper, or I'm gonna buy this shoe, it's all synthetics. It wasn't a thing. As long as the design looked good, it looked great on foot. But now people are becoming more particular about their dollar because things are becoming more and more expensive. So I think you guys are right, like hitting it right on the head to be able to say, okay, we've come in this early. Like when we talk about early adopters, I feel like you guys are early adopters in quality and consistent quality, because
thank you.
But it's a true statement, because you guys have a team of 11, independent, trying to make this, you guys are spending all this money on opening your own molds, which if anybody like who knows sneakers, that's a very expensive process to have your own molds made. And then you guys changing things on certain items, that can only just add on to the bill. So the fact that you guys are staying consistent with, hey, this is our mission, this is our identity. Again, you can have every reason to cut the corner, but you guys haven't, which I think that is that will be the reason you guys are going to be around. Not only your design, of course, which is amazing, but you guys' your values with the brand. I feel like that's going to keep you from the 4 years to, however long. Like you said, you're already cemented in sneaker history for what you guys have done. Because no one else is like, no bigger brand out there. Only brand I could think of that I can even, talk about quality at any given point would be like Saucony, because they take care of their materials as well. I don't see any other big brand out there is like, let's make a point to make this like feel nice and look nice for the customer. It's just like, hey, it's a Jordan 1 or it's a Superstar. Here you go.
No, for sure. Thank you. That means a lot. That thank you for that. That's a huge compliment. I really appreciate that, especially coming from you as well.
No,
and I think when it comes to quality, it's tricky because I completely agree with you actually, and the ecosystem is changing a lot. But it's also very interesting, and this keeps me up at night, right? It's like I say, the consumer psychology of what quality means is different everywhere I go. Yeah. So, for example, in Amsterdam, they're not against like the velvety fake suede that is on the Air Max 1s, but what what they really appreciate is like not having glue stains or just consistency in the panels, even if the material quality is not the absolute best, because they're going to buy 3 pairs of that shoe anyways, one to wear, one to keep, and one to resell. This is just how it is. Whereas when you come to London, it's like, oh, if the material was slightly thicker, this means it's quality, So instead of using like a 1.2 millimeter thickness, it's like a 1.8. It's like small differences, but that in itself means that it's higher quality. Or if the leather is soft, it means it's super buttery, like in America. It means this is super high quality, right? But actually, when it comes to like the cost price of that material, in some cases, that supposedly shitty quality versus that super buttery one could actually be the same price. I think what the brands are forgetting is that you can't just release all the same product in every territory in the world. And I think that is what has diluted a lot of the ecosystem as well, because before you were getting regional exclusives that were targeted materially, very targeted to that ecosystem in that country. And I think if they just paid attention a bit more as to what these different areas in the world want, and if they deliver that, I think immediately these kind of quality issues would be avoided. I also understand that it's kind of tricky because, for example, a London consumer might watch your video, for example, but your opinion will come from a sort of American ecosystem, I would say. I guess it translates, but it's very interesting, the references and the consumer psychology of what it actually means, the quality of materials, and I'm always learning about it, and it's always changing, and it's really cool to see. Because no one's wrong, right? Everyone has a valid reason to feel the way they do, and then it's on us to act on that and make a better product. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I even think about that. You're right. With the regional exclusives I used to have back in the day, I didn't really even think about just different material uses because, Asia might like one thing compared to America versus Europe. So I didn't, man, that's a great point. I didn't even think that was a thing, but now everyone's kind of everyone's getting the same thing. Wow, that's definitely a thought. Like that's just something I have to sit and think about for just sort of future. Like,
well, that made you stay up at night too.
I was like, man, now I'm gonna make shoes now. I'm concerned about it. Well, as you guys keep growing in the world of sneakers, collaborations have kind of been the main topic. And you guys have done a couple, I feel like. And is there you have a dream collaboration that you say, hey, I want to work with this person or maybe this brand?
Absolutely. And it's interesting that you mentioned that because throughout the last 4 years, the first 2 years or so of the business, it was just me and Kyle, right? And we were just very much D2C, direct-to-consumer, website-driven sales channel, just releasing drops every few months and just selling out and new drop, selling out new drop. Then last year, which was our third year, we sort of introduced a always-on sales channel, which sort of meant, because what we realized is people discovered our brand, but they couldn't buy anything. And we at the time, we could have done like t-shirts or socks or all these other things, but like we just felt like our shoes were not there yet. We needed to grow more. We wanted to set ourselves and so let us do shoes first and then go further. So that last year was our first year where we sort of had a collection on our website that allowed people to buy into the brand, separate from, I guess, the big deals that we call them, which were some of our heat and hype releases. Then going into this year, having the D2C website collection, I guess, having what else did I mention? The always on collection. So those are already 2 things. And then we're adding actually 3 more sales channels to that, one of which is collaborations, which I'll get into. But as you know, we did the No One made to order shoe at the beginning of the year. So we are introducing sort of this made to order sort of concept. Not only does this sort of test the waters with understanding the demand for certain niches and certain subcategories of models, but it also allows us to explore a different sales channel alongside our D2C offering, right? The 2 collections in our D2C. Then on top of that, we are also having wholesale distribution now. So actually next week, we're going into a very big flagship in Foot Asylum this first month. And it's going to be huge. I don't know when this is going to come out, but it's supposed to be a huge surprise, but this might come out when
it's going to happen?
This is next week, Wednesday. I
We'll
believe.
be after that, so we won't ruin your surprise.
Cool. Well, we would have.
probably the following week.
Well, we'll be in there, so that's huge.
Awesome.
We signed a long-term deal with them, and they're giving us so many things. We have had talks with a lot of different retailers, but none of which really felt as authentic as this relationship has become actually. And alongside them, they also have a more luxury boutique called Seven Store, which will get some of the super hyped releases as well. So we're now introducing this wholesale channel, which is retail, physical retail and online retail in the UK. That will start with like 5 doors and then we'll go to 20 doors and it will just keep going and we expand this way. And then finally, we have the collaborations that you mentioned. Yeah. So at the beginning of, no, actually, let me go back to end of last year. That was the first really collaboration that we had done, and we have a delivery service here called Deliveroo. I think I'm not sure if it's the same there.
No, but we don't have that one. But I remember seeing that the collaboration through you guys' socials and everything.
Yeah, so when it comes to collaborations, I've also been very vocal about it internally, where people, of course, are super keen. It's like, oh, we should collaborate with this, we should collaborate with that. We get a lot of emails in all the time for some very cool brands that want to collaborate. But for me, the purpose needs to come beyond the product. For me, it's like an experience that needs to be created or pushing the industry in a positive way. Yeah. And the Deliveroo collab, I think, was a perfect example of that in my case, because we didn't actually release a product. All we did was show the industry that you can have shoes as a restaurant on Deliveroo and then buy your shoes on the app, watch your shoes come, and then within half an hour, the shoes are on your doorstep. That concept it's never been done, right?
That was cool.
Like it just hadn't been done, and I was like, I want to do this for other stuff. Like not even just for my brand, I want to buy a drop or some clothes or whatever. And then this is sort of like just a sort of bougie thing. Like I know it's not something for everybody, but like the idea of it, I think, was quite fun and quite cool, and they were super down. So when we reached out to them, they were all in for it, and they built the app all around us and created like a special subsection for just shoes. Oh, so and cool. It was just all super new for them. And so to me, that's like a cool collaboration as well. A different kind of collaboration that I would consider a collaboration as well is that because I went to study at London College of Fashion, also known as UAL, University of the Arts London. In my second year, I was given an industry project with the opportunity to land an internship the following year if you win that project. I ended up winning that project back then, and that sort of propelled my career. So when I started No Two Ways, one of my goals and dreams that I had was to come back to this university and do a collaborative project with them in a similar format, full circle moment for the second years, and someone would win an internship to come and work with us for a whole year, right? So this is the third year now that we're doing that, and we're not even vocal about this, but to me, this is what matters, and that I'm able to give back to the uni, but also give an opportunity to some of these young, super, super talented people. Sometimes it's even hard to pick a winner, because they're all so deserving and so hardworking and so talented. It's crazy. So even last year we had, I think, 3 or 2 winners.
Oh, nice!
Because we just couldn't pick one. This year we only have
everyone,
one.
Come on, you all win.
Exactly. But then, to fast forward a bit, this year our first ever shoe collab was this year, a couple of months ago now. It's up there with one of my favorite shoes, which is the HKE JME Ultimate. So with a grime artist called JME, very very well known in London. And he's been wearing the HKE range, the other ones, to death.
That's the pair I have right there.
One, yes, oh yeah, you do have one as well. Awesome. He sent us a voice note, and he's like, I might even send you the voice note later, so you can put it in somewhere. But he's like, yo, bro, I'm just at the studio with Frisco, P Money, and Skepta. Like, they're all talking about the shoes, but we really want an all black shoe. Can you do me one in all black? I was like, bro, say less. So I sampled him one. I was like, I sampled him one like 3 weeks later. I was like, bro, your shoes are ready. I did like a whole box. Like, it was just for him. It wasn't even supposed to be released, nothing, right? It was just for him and the guys he was with. I was like, of course I'm going to make you something, like, just a vibe. And then I showed it to the team, and they were like, hey, should we release this? Like, and I was like, well... Firstly, this was just a vibe thing with me and JME. Like, we actually designed it together. He chose got to choose some textures and stuff, but by no means was just like a full collaborative process, right? If I was
Yeah.
going to do like a proper collaboration, like I would want it like some of the other ones that I might get into later. But
Yeah.
yeah, this was very quick from a voice note. And then we just decided, fuck it, we're going to release this shoe. Like, we just
Yeah.
have to. And it just felt authentic. So we just did an event a couple of months ago, or last month. I can't even remember now. Everything happened so fast. And then we had a couple of cool people come out, like the likes of Helen Kirkham and Ramel Henry and a whole bunch of sneaker community from London.
Yeah.
And I literally sent the invite the day before because I was literally panicking, like trying to sort the venue, trying to make some invites. I was like messaging these people, and I'm like, oh my God, I hope they're not going to think that they're like extras on the list or something that I only now am inviting. Like they know it wasn't that, right? I was honest. I was like, guys, I'm only setting this up now. I know it's like tomorrow, but like, if you want to come hang out, you get a pair, it's vibes. And
That's
everybody
awesome.
came. I thought there's going to be 40 people. I had accommodated, I think, like for 40 people. Next thing you know, the address gets leaked, and there's like a queue of 150 people an hour before we're supposed to even do it. And I'm like, oh shit, what have I done? What have I done? And everyone was like, what's going on? What have you done? And but it was
That is awesome, though. Like, I mean, events like that. I mean, I love when brands do that kind of thing. Like, even if like I can't make it to the thing, or it's like just be able to see it is like cool. Like, there's something just more than, hey, it's not just a transaction, It's like we have something going on. Like, I love that, man. That's awesome. The fact that it just kind of blew up from word of mouth, even better.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I sort of was able to accommodate, and maybe that's on me for maybe needing to organize a bit better. But, like at the end of the day, it was authentic, it was real, it wasn't perfect, but if anything, that made it more perfect. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But it just felt real, and that was sort of, and what to top all of that even off was that our suppliers were actually in London because, well, they were in Paris originally for the Paris Olympics.
Oh, okay.
And just on a holiday, and I saw that, and I was like, we have this event again the day before. Like, these guys are all the way in Asia, right? Normally, the day before, I messaged them. I was like, oh my goodness, you're in Paris? Let me get you down to London. Come to the pop-up. Come to this situation. Just thought like, oh, it'll be fun. So they were there, and we did this sort of a little speech, and I sort of included them in the little speech, and just my gratefulness to what they're doing for us. And I think even everyone that was there, they had never experienced that sort of authenticity to the point where I'm doing a speech to our suppliers in that same space, right? And even for them, they manufacture for some of the biggest brands like Louis Vuitton or Palladium, or you keep going, DC, Dior, etc. And even for them, they have never been able to be in a room with some of these huge people, celebrities, artists, rappers, whatever, all of the people queued outside wearing the shoes that they manufacture. And then to top all of that up, they basically got like a 10-minute speech from us thanking them. And then there was a translator with them translating everything. And they were literally crying, and these are like the moments that I live for, It's not oh, you got a crazy £1 million offer to sell the company and we said no. And like, of course, that's awesome. But for me, that's not what drives me, right? What drives me is emotion and giving people authentic memories that in 20 years, who knows where we'll be, but what they will remember is that moment in time. And that will live on forever. And that's personally how you create legacy, create heritage, create validation in such a saturated ecosystem, is through giving people reason to remember you, right? Yep. And I think that with collaborations, I think it's very, very important because there's two-way collaboration, three-way collaborations that don't make any sense.
Oh, yeah.
And everything is just so saturated, And you just forget. Like, there's so many cool shoes, but I just forget about them because I was not offered a personal story to them, or I didn't create myself a story in my own head to give reason as to why I should be talking about this shoe with my friends, if that makes sense. Because generally that's the story that gets translated. It's like someone will be wearing that Jamie shoe, get a compliment. They were like, oh my goodness, I got to meet him. I got a signed pair. I got to meet the suppliers. I got to meet the design team. It was all of these small things, I think, really, really add up to the meaning of collaborations. And I think this is one of the reasons why we're only doing it really now. But yeah, it's absolutely going to be a huge sales channel for us. And we have some very exciting collaborations. Awesome. We're going to have 2 more this year. which will be announced. One will be announced next month, and one will be announced in December. And it's super cool. It's not what you might think, but you'll have to wait and see. I'm not going to give away too much.
We'll wait. But that's cool. Like your collaboration, your thought process is not like you said, just like, hey, here's another shoe we just partnered with somebody on, but it builds upon a community of sneakers. You know, getting people back together is, again, not just transactional. So that's, again, making a memory, making a moment from, I was here on this day. I remember being in line with 100-something people that my buddy leaked me the address, and we got, so that's cool. Like you said, somebody can come out 10, 20 years from now, like, oh, I remember that, as opposed to, I gave someone $200 for a pair of shoes, and that's it.
Exactly. And I mean, along the way, we learned a lot, right? We took some L's, we took some W's, we tried different things. Like, for example, this shoe smells like cherry blossom, right? I know you can't say that right now. Maybe
I don't. So okay, the Model 1 Sakura. That's the one I've been hunting. I love that shoe. I was like, I don't know where that much pink, but that shoe is so cool. I didn't know it smelled like cherry blossoms. Are you serious?
Yeah. So we released them twice, right? So the first time we released them, they didn't smell, but then this year we did a scented version. So we had 100 of the Model 1s. We had 100 Formula. We had 100 of the foams. All of those went like pretty instantly. But it's
that's like the one I'm fighting for. Every time you remember, like, no, they don't sell out.
Like, this is the only pair
that is amazing.
It's a showroom pair. Cool. I don't even have a pair myself.
Hey, Christmas re-release them. Just re-release them on Christmas.
Maybe next year Valentine's.
There you go.
Yeah, so they're scent injected, right? And that was just something we were testing, like, to see, because we didn't know the monetary value of something scented. Like, is it more expensive? Is it less expensive? How does the consumer perceive something like that? Is it too gimmicky? You know, like, we were just trying to understand and explore a little bit, but also controlling the duration of the scent. Like, the supplier was literally like, okay, so do you want to last 6 months or 2 years? And I was like, why so specific? Like, what? Like, and it's like, this is like how we work. It's like 6 months or 2 years. And then I was like, can we do like indefinitely? And they were like, they thought I was crazy, right? They were like, why? Like, you're gonna not make any money doing this, because do you not want? They literally said this, is like, do you not want them to just be buying the shoe every like couple of years and like create a lifetime for this product? I was like, I mean, are you supposed to do that? I was like, no, I want the shoes to smell good forever. Like, forget about all of that. Forget what you know. For this first thing, I'm gonna just do what we want. Like, who cares what it's supposed to be? Like, let's just do it, you know? So right now, supposedly it's indefinitely, but we're literally testing it, right? I'm just trying to be honest. Like, who knows? It might not be indefinitely, right?
Yeah.
Like, if it's only 2 years, I'm going to be upset because we like agreed that it wasn't going to be. But for now, we're sort of just waiting and waiting. Every day I'm smelling the shoes. Like, is it going yet?
You sniff it. Like, all right, we're still good. We're still good.
And I have one that I'm wearing, and I'm like, is it going yet? And people think I'm crazy, you know?
Wait. So I got
you gotta do.
So next time, so I'm a big coffee fiend. Like, that's one of the reasons I love the mocha. I love coffee, man. You dump some coffee smell on here, you just come on. You just sit there sniffing.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Or it's like, because like in my head, it's like there's just some awesome celebrities that, like, for example, David Beckham. I just feel like I've never met him in person, but I just feel like he smells so good. I don't know why. You just have some people that, you know, are just like a Dua Lipa, for example. I just know she's going to smell so good, you know? So it's like, imagine you do a collaboration with them, but the shoe smells like them.
The scent, like...
Okay, maybe I'm just crazy. Maybe that's just bizarre. But I mean, I think there's something there.
To a whole new level. It's like,
but this is what I mean. It's like, collaborations need to have something that's just either super bizarre or it's just different to what exists. Because otherwise, what's the point? You know.
Here you go.
Yeah,
you do like
who knows?
Collaboration like a pizza shop. You guys have like a pizza shoe and have like a pizza like Italian seasoning flavor on the shoe, like some wild.
Because I know like KFC sort of did it with Crocs, and they made the Crocs smell like chicken, right? Which I thought that was pretty fun.
Yeah.
But that sort of crosses the sort of gimmicky level, and then I feel like there's a sort of maturity level to this concept. And I know there are some brands that use scent as one of the senses to promote their products. Maybe not necessarily footwear, but it's not really seen in the sneaker sphere yet, right?
No, that's the first time I've heard that. I was like, blew my mind.
But then I'll give you some other examples of maybe some else that. Well, one of my favorite shoes that I still have, and I'm actually wearing it right now, is the what we call the Koiri, which is the high top, right?
Yeah.
And I think for me, this shoe is the most misunderstood shoe. And the reason I say that is because for the late adopters slash mainstream, they'll probably view the shoe and they'll look at it and they think it's a Jordan 1, right? And don't get me wrong, I absolutely agree with them to the extent that the general shape and it's a high top and the first thing you think of is a Jordan 1. Like I get all of those things and I agree with them. And I have a lot of Jordan 1s, right? So I can't deny that a lot of my influence on certain shoes come from shoes that I own or love or that the community loves. But at the same time, there are a lot of problems that I found with not only recent Jordan 1 productions, but also older ones. And a lot of that also is to do, for example, with the width of the shoe. So with Nike product in general, I always feel it's quite narrow, especially the Jordan 1 is quite narrow, or even the Blazer, for example, is very narrow. And there were just a couple of things that I just didn't like, such as knowing that if I was to think what is the most comfortable high top known to mankind, I can't place that as just a shoe. So for me, I felt there was a universal problem. And same with the foams, we were trying to solve a problem, right? Yeah. But with the high tops, my brief for myself was we're going to do a very small batch of just 100 to 500 units on different high tops. But I'm going to make it the high top that I wish the Jordan 1 was. From a purely comfort, production quality, material quality standpoint. And we managed to do it, but at the same time, it did not necessarily have maybe some of the visual identities that I was speaking so highly of when it comes from a consumer psychology standpoint. And what I mean with that is some of the consistent details that we use throughout all our shoes, actually. So when you talk about the deboss effect, or when you talk about this translucent webbing, for example, and when I grab a pair of formulas, you'll still have the translucent webbing here. You'll still have the deboss effects, these kind of things. On the high top, you of course also have those with the deboss effects. It's kind of hard to see. You can kind of see them on the back and on the toe a little bit. And then we have the translucent webbing on the inside, and of course the heavy arrow influences. But for the consumer, that wasn't enough for them to be like, this is not a new shoe, you're just following. And that was good feedback, right? Because that allowed me to understand, okay, so people don't want me to fix stuff that I think is wrong with other people's product. They want me to just create new. I can do that, absolutely. But at the same time, I'm no longer wearing the Jordan 1s and I'm wearing my own shoes that I've designed with my own head on the tongue, you know?
Hey, that's cool. I was like, I might wear my own shoe. I'm like, I'm going to.
And then I low-key stuck the Surinamese flag on it. And right now I'm testing something that, or maybe you can help me with this, but I have not seen a shoe that is using measuring tape as their shoelaces.
You know? That's cool. So, I didn't even see that. That's cool. That's cool.
I want to be the first to do it. And who knows, I might not be by the time the laces come out, but I want to say it here first, just in case, you know?
Hey, like, I did it first. Hey, we got it here. It's on tape. Don't worry.
Because as far as I know, I don't know any shoes that have this. But I would love to be proven wrong because I'm always learning. I'm never always right. Absolutely not. I don't know all the answers either. But I love finding things that people haven't done yet, and that just is meaningful and it's just fun, you know.
Heck yeah, man.
But yes.
Well, then I gotta ask you then. So we looked at a few of them. What's some of your favorites, man? Because I know I pulled out a couple of my favorites. That was the khaki and the mocha, of course. I'm almost embarrassed to show you this because I wear it too dang much. My phone are absolutely like. These things have seen every piece of ground in Houston, Texas, I think, as possible. Like, I love
thank you. I appreciate that. Honestly, it means a lot, honestly. But yeah, to get into a couple of my favorites, I'll definitely show you a couple, and I'll show you one that's not even released yet, just so you can get that little leak in there.
Yeah.
But of course, my first and favorite shoe has to be the OG, right? The Model 1 Exuberance, our very first, the one that kicked it all off, the one that, you know, sold out in a ridiculous amount of time. And the first thing we thought was like, oh shit, we should have ordered more, but like we were not in a position to order more. But at the same time, we also realized like our product now is not the best version of the shoe, so we should not oversaturate something that we believe is not necessarily good enough for a huge brand. But everyone that has got a pair of these is very happy with them. Is very happy that they're going for like $1,000, I guess, also on StockX and shit. But
wow, I didn't know
but
that.
like, but like, you know, it's a beautiful shoe, and
Yeah.
that has a special place in my heart. My second favorite shoe is the Sapphire.
I like that one. Yeah.
And the reason for that is that one of my middle names is Safirianto, which means sapphire in Surinamese.
Oh, okay.
And the shoe is sort of inspired by that, so the sapphire blue. But at the same time, it was the first chance to really have a colorful silhouette, yet somehow make it very easy to style. So initially, when you see it, it's like, oh shit, I have no idea how to wear this. The moment you put it on, it's like, actually, it's very easy to wear. And one of the things that I'm very happy with as well is that this was the first time we injected recycled plastic bottle cap pieces into the midsole
Cool.
to sort of have that sustainable element to the phylon, because I was just fed up of using new phylon. I wanted to use recycled phylon as well as inject bottle cap pieces into the shoe. So yeah, so the dynamic between fire orange and sapphire blue, and the fact that this is not a commercial colorway yet could be seen as a commercial shoe, makes this absolutely one of my favorites.
That's dope. I like that.
Of course, the one that you have as well, the Mocha, has to be up there.
Love that
especially
shoe.
In the last month that we sort of re-released it a little bit. It was a small number, but like we gave it to a couple of more people because people were just asking about it all the time. And we did have like 200 units just to keep for us. Actually, we weren't going to sell it. It was just to keep for us because we have a lot of friends, you know, that, like, for example, I was with KSI and he was like, oh, I would love to get me another pair of these, another pair of those. And I was like, bro, I really, like, he actually asked for a pair of Sakuras. And I was like, bro, I don't have another one to give you. But you know what I ended up doing? I bought a pair on StockX and I gave it to him. You know, this is the way. I don't know what you want me to do, man.
Like, look, I got you. You gotta do it this way.
You know, and so that's why we keep some back. And then people were just asking, like, we were getting like 20 emails a day, like asking for certain shoes to come back. And we were like, you know what? Forget about holding these stock for us. Like, let's not be selfish. Let's just give it to the people.
That's
so
awesome.
We just gave it to the people and people loved it. And yeah, it really unlocked, especially this year, unlocked so many opportunities, especially in Fashion Week and sort of the grime scene and just the rapper music ecosystem really allowed us to bring this shoe back to life and give it a new level. And I was able to gift it to Jeff Staple as well, which is like crazy.
I saw that, man. That was
like
huge.
That's just, like, don't even, awesome. I'm gonna faint just even thinking about the whole moment again. So don't get me started in that situation. But yeah, hey, honestly, cool. it's up there with some of the biggest moments, and that's why Mocha is definitely one of my favorite shoes. So it's definitely really those three are my favorites. But there might be about to be, where is it?
Here it is.
New favorite coming soon.
Got the exclusive here, guys.
We call this, it's the same as the Mocha color blocking actually, but we call this the Blueprint.
Oh.
And I'll give you a couple of funny things because I know Nike released a Blueprint range during Paris Olympics, and that was I was like, shit, should I still call it Blueprint? Should I not call it Blueprint? Are people going to think, you know?
They did like 30 different things. It's fine. No one's remembering that. No, I didn't remember that too. I remember the electric pack, but I didn't remember the blue stuff.
But this story was built before all of that. We even knew about that, just to be clear. But yeah, so for me, this blue signifies a lot of things. But first and foremost, we put London here, the London skyline here, and have a little tube situation on the NTW. I'm not going to unfold what that might mean, but I think you might be able to figure it out.
I'm thinking about it, but we'll say that for later. So I'll see you.
What I will say is that London for us is a blueprint of no two ways, and it's where the brand is founded and where we're from. And it's also the first shoe that will have the new No logo on there. And it will also have a hidden rat. So like with the JMEs, there is also a hidden rat underneath this label here.
Oh, cool.
So we've started to hide the rat somewhere as part of our identity. So each shoe now will have a hidden rat detail that is for people to find. But yeah, so this is definitely up there with some of our favorite releases coming up. I know it's quite sporty. It's very blue, but it has a place. And it's, oh my goodness, it's very limited. I was like, we should have probably ordered a few more of those. But yeah, so
I
this
like
is
that,
one of
man.
my
That blue's very
favorites coming
nice.
out.
That's clean. Was
So
the blue suede as well, or is it leather?
it's a nubuck.
But
So
okay,
I
okay,
actually
now I can
stole
kind of
this.
see it. Yeah.
I stole this from Pharrell's latest Timberland LV shoe. Maybe I shouldn't
Okay.
have done that, but that maybe you can take out of the podcast. But so it's actually using the same nubuck as Timberlands. So it's very,
Oh, okay.
very robust and rigid, and has sort of I don't know if you can capture it on camera, but it still has, the movement of the hairs a little bit on
Yeah, that's clean. I
the
like that a lot.
nubuck. But it's a very premium shoe, and I feel like we need to start upping our retail prices maybe. But for now we're good. For now we're good.
Like, dang, this is getting too good now. Hold on.
Yeah. Well, this is what I'm thinking. Now I'm talking to you about it. I'm like, oh shit, maybe we're going too far.
Dude, that's awesome, man. Like everything you guys have just put out is awesome. Like, that is gonna be a hit. I can already tell you that blue one
Thank you, man.
is.
Thank you. I
It's
hope
gonna
so.
be good.
I hope so.
Yeah, man. No, that is fantastic, man. And I love hearing the stories. I love hearing the story how you guys have kind of like come together, your thought process, again, the value, the mission of the brand. And I really will say I know being independent is hard out there with somebody with the bigger brands out there who've been around for a long time. But anything you guys are doing like that, I think, is a huge disruption to the norm. And I think that's hang your hat on that, man. That's fantastic what you guys are doing. And again, I really appreciate the product for what it is. I think it's amazing. And I know everyone who's wearing your shoes, seeing you guys out there feels the same way. So you guys, just hats off to you guys. You're killing it. And heck, I feel like next time I
Thank
look
you,
up,
man.
being
I
Foot Locker
appreciate
here
it,
in the
man.
US or something.
Who knows? Honestly, who knows? But yeah, like this whole rebrand thing right towards the middle of the year, it was tricky because one last thing I'll mention is that like for the first, let's say, 3 years or so, of course, we were very strong with community. We have a very strong community still and a very strong audience. But what we understood was, like, even when we talk in regards to collaborations, is that one thing that we were sort of missing was a sort of aesthetic / vision that would attract some of these bigger companies to give them reason to work with us.
Yeah.
And this is something we sort of learned along the way. Of course, we have our identity, we have the independent side, we have the fact that we were the first YouTuber brand to sort of be established and not be seen as merch, for example.
Yeah.
But really to become almost a fashion house or a product design house that could stand on its own 2 feet, we sort of were missing an aesthetic. Not necessarily for our audience, but for those other companies, right, that would maybe want to consider working with us. So the rebrand really came in at a point of understanding that, okay, we understand our consumer psychology, but we don't know anything about expanding into the industry, how to get into wholesale, how to appeal to these huge brands. It's like, this is something we need to learn. So we underwent this huge process already back in 2023 of like really starting to understand before actioning, right? It's always about understanding and really understanding it. Otherwise, you, in my opinion, you don't have the right to play in that space if you don't understand the space. So we really just tried to understand it, and we learned that we needed to have it's not just about a color or about a logo. It's really about building your brand identity, your brand vision, some key signature statement pieces or components that can really signify what your brand is all about and give people reason and understanding to want to back you, right? So even like, for example, we had some chats with Selfridges, which is a very big luxury department store in London.
Okay.
And the buyers from there were saying that we were using way too many logos on our shoes. They understand why, and it's very cool. But to be on a floor with the likes of Off-White and Balenciaga and Louboutin and Arigato and Represent and all these other brands, they felt that not only did the shoes feel too dissected, but also that we were using way too many different logos. And when I hear that feedback, of course, in a way you take it with a pinch of salt, because at the end of the day, you can do what you want. But at the same time, you have to respect that they know what they're talking about and they know what they're looking for. So at some point, you just sort of, instead of designing for yourself, you sort of have to tailor your mindset to accommodate, of course, being happy with what you put out, but at the same time, accommodating what they want. So going through that process, streamlining sort of your main logo types and your logo marks and the reasoning behind certain things. So even, for example, our new font now that we're using is actually a font that we designed ourselves, but it's built off of the font that you see on like writing on the roads. I'm not sure if it's the same in every country. That gave me an idea. Now I need to think about that, what it looks like in different countries. But in London, the font, yeah, literally, I'm actually going to make a note after this. The font that's used for like bus lane or taxi lane or like cycle lane, whatever, that exact font. But we sort of compressed it slightly because, of course, that's a perspective font that you're supposed to read at an angle. And when you put that flat on like your phone screen, you can't really read it. And then we did consider the concept of like, what if people have to actually angle your phone screen to be able, we felt there was something there, right? But then we also understood that the consumer psychology, they're not this smart, they're going to look at it, they're like, I can't read that, move on.
Next.
So we understood that as well. So as creative as you can get and as artsy and as storytelling you can get, that consumer psychology piece is so important because there's place for everything. You just need to understand who you're selling to. So what we ended up doing is sort of compress the font a little bit. Don't know if there's any examples on any of our shoes here. There's a couple, but I don't think the camera will pick it up. That's the branding you guys
have on the trainer right now, right? That's the same font
you
you have
on
on the trainer?
So this, you can sort of see it on the insole. So this bottom font
I know exactly.
is that new font that we're using now. And of course, we have the No 1 as well, which we didn't even get into, but maybe we'll save that for another day. So really understanding like how we can build an aesthetic so that the collaborations make more sense beyond the fact that we are just a footwear supplier. Because, for example, the collaborations this year especially are all with companies or entities or restaurants or people that don't have a footwear offering. So we are filling that hole with the fact that we produce footwear. But there will come a point where we will have brands that have a footwear offering. So then what are we actually offering that is unique beyond just that footwear space? Yes, it could be sneakers. Yes, it could be industry validation. Yes, it could be community. But these are all things that I believe are not things that are reasons to why people should work with you. It has to come from a vision. It has to come from an aesthetic. And we're definitely playing into the streets, the road marks, the fonts, the color schemes, what you just see around on the roads mainly. And things that I want to bring back as well is like, for example, when Jeff Staple did this Puma Clyde collab and the pigeons were the colors of, those regions where the pigeons were from. I think that sort of element is so cool. Like, why has no one done a similar situation, but for taxis, right? Because here you got the black cabs, over there you got like the yellow taxis, like in Asia you got the green ones, like why is that? What has that not been done? Like for me that's awesome, and I can name you so many.
So like the London SB, or I guess was it SB Dunk? Yeah, the London Dunk back in the day, like the all gray, like the fall color. Or you guys ever do something like that, like kind of like an all gray suede and how they did that?
There's three up here, right here.
Oh, see, look at that. Look.
There's the old gray, and then there's a gray syzygy up there.
Oh, see, there you go.
Ooh, and then we've got an old beige one.
The concrete looking gray of the far one, I like that one a lot. Like
this one, right?
I guess the lighter one. They're all dope, but that very light one, that kind of creamier looking gray. I like that. I love that color. There's something about that kind of almost like softer gray, that like fresh concrete. I always love that.
Yeah. To be honest, this is this exact Pantone as the moon. Is it the Moon Rocks? I think it's the Moon Rocks.
The Yeezys?
I can't remember now. Yeah, one of the Yeezys. Or was it what was it called? The Oxford Time or something like this?
Yeah,
Vegeta Time.
They're all the same at some point, I swear. Yeah, Moon Rock, Oxford Tan.
I can't remember anymore. We Loki's did steal that Pantone from there. Maybe I shouldn't have mentioned that. But at the end of the day,
fine. They're not doing anything anyway.
I'm going to be honest with you, right? And I don't know if that shoe will ever come out. I know we have 200 of them, but they're just sort of samples, right? It's like, because we went from going to 750 all the way up to like 10,000 units. When we did these ones, we did 10,000 of these, and we were not releasing any of these anymore because I was like, okay, there's already 10, 15,000 of these in the world.
There's a lot of them out there already. Yeah.
We have done 3 colorways now. Between the 3 colorways, over 20,000 of them in the world. And I'm like, look, I don't want to oversaturate something that doesn't need to be oversaturated.
Yeah.
And also knitted shoes generally in the space isn't necessarily something that people are keen on. And to be honest, that is not my favorite model personally. And I think for No Two Ways, our bread and butter lies in this shoe, you know. So I'm definitely gonna keep pushing this shoe forward above all else. But there's some very cool silhouettes coming next year. There's 3 or 4 new models that no one has ever seen. So, but still within this ecosystem, you know, within this ecosystem. But
awesome.
yeah, I can go on forever, man. Sorry that I didn't ask you many things.
No, you're good. I'll sit here a little bit. We can, look, if I didn't have to like do my normal work, I'll sit here like, no, forget that. We're just gonna sit here and talk all day because I love these conversations, man. Because this is one of those like, again, get into the mind of a designer. Because typically we don't get these conversations as often. There's always talking to the influencer or I don't know, the like athlete or, you know, and they're usually part of the process too. So I don't want to say that, but we're never getting down to
just followers of the ecosystem and just connoisseurs of footwear, right? Like, which are still super important. I agree with you, but exactly. I get it's a different type of how do you say, the angle, I guess, in regards to the same product. But yeah, I think they're very important for sure. But you make it very easy to talk as well. You're very easy to talk to, so that's great. It's not your first
I'm doing my job well, so hey, I'll take the compliment. Thank you.
Exactly.
Perfect, man. Well, shoot. I mean, we looked at some things that, you know, we got a sneak peek of something coming out. We know you guys are working on some more projects and more models. Any events on the website coming up? Like, I know you guys typically.
I can give you a couple of nuggets.
Uh-oh.
I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about this. I might get in trouble. Wait, I can't get in trouble really. Low-key perks of being a co-founder, I guess. Not that I'm big-headed.
It's a big phone call from Cali. Hey, man.
I call to myself. Can I talk about this? No, I'm chatting shit. But no, I'm gonna share 2 things, but I'm gonna be vague with it. Just to cover myself a little bit. The first one I will mention is we are introducing. I'm actually thinking twice whether I should mention it. No, fuck it, I'm going to mention it. We're introducing a loyalty scheme in the coming months.
Oh, cool.
And it will backtrack every single order in history, so people will get certain points and certain rewards and exclusive stuff. That isn't just for that. Like it's going to be crazy. Like the stuff that they get. One of these tiers, the top 3 tiers, I was like asking, like, yo, can you just put me in this tier because like no one is gonna get to this tier? And they're like, no, you gotta get there. I was like, just get me there. Like, I'm designing the thing that they're getting. Like, can I not just take one for myself? Like, this is crazy. Like, I need this, you know? It's like, no, we need to say it for the tiers. I was like, I know, but like it's crazy, you know? But like some of these tier rewards are just insane. It's gonna be so fun. Then the second bit I will mention, but the tiering will work. It will be super clear once we release it. But you will get rewarded for various things, whether it's a story reshare, whether it's a purchase, whether it's just a like, whether it's a comment on my page. Like, it's super, super simple. Even if you show up to an event wearing a specific shoe, you get certain points, etc., etc. So that's super. It's a very community-driven piece, and it's not necessarily something that people have to buy to get into. Absolutely not. It's just rewarding them for being loyal and supporting us, right? Because awesome. I feel like people that have bought more than 3 pairs deserve something, you know. It's like, come on, like people like yourself, and you know, I want to give back something. Like, they deserve something, even though we're not making much money with the shoes. It doesn't matter. Like, it's a community, you know. This is why we do it. But then, the second bit, which again, I'm like, oh shit, don't mention it.
Be vague, just be vague.
So, as you might know, we have this Instagram @No, and we did some crazy activations, like the skywriting over Nike headquarters in Portland, and some crazy other things. We you know, over the past 6 months, we've been low-key nudging a little bit at Nike, you know, like we did like a CGTV campaign outside of their flagship store here. We did like We did a whole campaign on Air Max Day. We've been low-key
love
digging
it.
at
I
them,
love it, man.
but not because I don't like them, because I love them. Don't get me wrong. But
Yeah.
sometimes you can poke at the Giants a little bit to get a
Yeah, it's just
reaction.
friendly banter. I mean, we all. I talk crap about Nike all the time, but I think I talk crap about them because I expect so much of them because I love the brand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like most of my collection is Nike shoes, like all the
Same.
way
I'm
from
like
the
looking behind me, like,
85s.
well,
Like,
I'm talking nonsense and all behind me. Like,
exactly.
it's because I want so
But
much more for you guys.
but then I always feel like if I can do something, I feel like they can do it so much better because the teams that they have is just incredible,
Yeah,
But
man.
I never really know whether they were actually watching. And then
Yeah.
literally yesterday, I'll share this. I got an email from them and they actually offered me an opportunity. And I was like, this is fucking hilarious. Like, because of course I'm no two ways to the truth. I'm not going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah.
But like to
That's
get that
crazy.
from them was just a compliment, and it wasn't just like a low-key role. It was like a serious role, and I was like, damn, this
Yeah.
is. Hey, let's show them what we're about. If anything, it given me confidence, to go. Hey,
Yeah.
I'm ready. Like, let's show them what we got. If they're watching now, I know they're watching. Like, let's show them what we got. Like, of course,
That's
I'm not.
amazing, dude.
I would never take opportunities like this just like that. I built this from nothing.
Yeah.
Like, no two ways is my life.
But just like the validation, knowing it's like someone's
Exactly.
like appreciate what I'm doing. That's awesome.
But don't get me wrong, like I do see how, like, for example, how Virgil used to do it when he had, like, I'm nowhere near Virgil and he's one of my role models. But
Yeah.
like, you can sort of try and visualize how he may have managed to work these different routes at the same time and still be
Yeah.
there if those companies allow and it works. But in my head, like, I don't know if I'm good enough for that, in truth. I'm just going to be honest. And
Yeah.
two, I have so much of my heart in those two ways, knowing that we started this from nothing, knowing that we have so much excitement and so much community, and the fact that we're doing something that till this day is not really tried by anyone else.
For sure.
We had the Marcus Brownlee shoe with Atoms towards the end of last year, which was kind of cool. But similarly to those previous examples back in 2019, they're not set up to sustain multiple drops. So those people that bought that shoe the first time, I don't know if they're going to buy another colorway again. Because I bought one, but I ended up paying like £290 all in with the taxes and everything, right? And I still bought it because not only do I love footwear, yes, of course, I can go off on a whole tangent on the design of the whole shoe. But at the end of the day, he's a cool guy. He created footwear. I can only respect it, But I also see a view where he would not be able to sustain that unless something changes drastically, which hurts me a bit because I feel like he deserves more, And I'm not saying that Atoms are bad at all. Like, I love that they're trying and I love that they're reaching out to these kind of new type of collaborations. But from my view, if you're going to do those kind of things, you really need to understand the market before you play in it. Like, I keep saying that, I feel like they don't really, or maybe they do, but they're not portraying like they do.
Yeah.
So even in their case, even in their case, they were pushing the sustainability a little bit. They were saying it's the most comfortable high top, which absolutely could be true, could be completely valid. But how much of the industry do you actually know? This is what I'm always like thinking about. And I would love to talk to them and help them if they feel like I could. But I just love talking to people, right? I always love learning. And who knows? Maybe they do. Maybe I'm completely wrong and I'm just chatting shit. Who knows? But this is just my view and a designer's insight, I guess. But yeah.
Man, that's
that
awesome,
gives you a bit of an insight of no two ways.
I look, that is amazing. Like, first of all, like, congrats to you. Just again, not going anywhere, but just the acknowledgement is amazing. And then second, I think the loyalty program is going to go off very well with customers, especially because it's not all transaction based. So I think that's.
Sorry to interrupt you there. I forgot to say I never finished that story of the at no Instagram. So, because I was answering that second point. Sorry to cut you there, but so because we have that at no Instagram now, that will become something. That platform, that page, at the end of this year, I am so excited because it's not something that people like. it's so left field that people are gonna be like, "What the actual fuck?" But they're gonna think it's like just a vibe. Like it's
All
not
right,
even
all
footwear
right.
related. It's not even footwear
Okay.
related, and that's all I'm gonna say. I can't say
All
anymore
right.
because
Well, hey,
I will talk too much.
well, wait, hey guys, you gotta wait now. So we're gonna keep checking back. We only got a couple months left of the year, so we're gonna keep on following back on that one.
So yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Awesome.
It's gonna be so fun. I'm so excited, and I'm
Yeah.
for sure gonna send you some of whatever it is.
Oh, okay. Now see,
But you gotta
my
wait. You gotta
interest is
wait,
peaked
right?
now. I'm like, I need to know what it
I might tell you off. I might tell you off camera.
is. Hey, fair enough. Fair enough, man. Well, it's awesome, man. You guys got a lot of stuff cooking and a lot of stuff you've already like tried and true and proven already. So, I think anybody who knows about you guys will just say you're just on the way, just continuously going up. So, I really, Rockwell, appreciate the time. I mean, I could tell like just from our conversation.
Thank you.
How busy you guys are, how busy you are specifically. So
Yeah, but it's fun. It's fun, Thank you. No, thank you as well for taking the time. And I'm sure it's quite early for you over there, so I really appreciate that as well on a Friday.
Oh, no dude, me and my wife, we got 4 kids, so I was already up.
Wow,
so
wow. Damn. Okay, so are you saying I need to make some baby shoes then?
Make some baby shoes. Hey, my kids will.
Not yet, but maybe.
My son, he's 10 and he's getting into sneakers now. So the kid shoes are probably getting bought up more than men's shoes at this point. So definitely a couple years.
So
man,
what size is he now? Like, is he still in the C's? Is he like 8C or something?
I don't know what the heck they are now. It's so weird. So
or just the juniors?
I guess he would be a 2 in a junior. I guess I don't know what it is. So it's not the C's anymore. So
I'm trying to think as well. Because US sizing is all
so.
over the place. Like the women's US size and men's US size, and then kids, grade school, infants. It's like just so many.
We're sized up from you guys. Yeah. So I wear 9 in the UK. So I wear 10 here, 9 there. So I guess if you kept going that way, he would wear a 2 here and a 1 there.
But then maybe because if you take the women's size 10, that's not a 9. That's an 8. It's 2.5 sizes down.
It's so much. Like,
so why does that exist? Like, this keeps me up at night. It's like, why is there not a standard for sizing? I know it's difficult because there's so many territories, but like we found a way to do small, medium, and large. Like, come on, guys.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, it's funny. Like, if I even here, like, if you look at you look at a box, you have to put like 4 different sizes on the box. That's for anybody. So I look, stuff. We got UK, EU, which is crazy that Europe and the UK are different. And then you get the US and then US men, US women. I'm like, can we just all get on the same size? Like, I got centimeters, and I think Japan does centimeters as well.
Yes, they do.
It's a
but then
hassle.
so Japan, well, to be super accurate, China does centimeters.
China does centimeters. Okay.
But Japan does the foot length.
Oh my god!
So the foot length generally is 12 millimeters smaller than the actual centimeter length, if that makes sense. The Chinese centimeter length.
Yeah, I got you.
Because the size is 12 millimeters, half size is 6 millimeters. But that's generally like the consensus. But it's like, it's just crazy. Like I appreciate that brands obviously all have their own fitting and sizing and whatnot, but the fact that the sizes is not even consistent is just, or the numbers it's just crazy. And then in European sizes, Adidas will have like 42 and 2/3, for example.
Oh
like,
my god!
2/3 of a size. Now we're doing 3 millimeter differences, not even 6. Like in my head, that's like crazy.
I buy Adidas. I'm like, I hope it fits. That's all I can do. Like, I hope it fits. Because
then on top of that, you have to like size up. Fear of God's basketball shoe recently, I have to get like 2 sizes up. But like my toe is in pain. Like, it's crazy.
It's insane. Like, you go like the Fear of God basketball stuff. So the Fear of God basketball shoe, you go like a size up, 2 sizes up. But then you have like the Fear of God, the other stuff you did with Adidas, like the California stuff. You got to go half size down. I'm like, I don't know what you want from me. I can't do this.
Yeah. So imagine entering a space that is like that and then trying to come with product that has to fit perfect their first time. and I don't even know where my consumers are living the first release. It's like you're just lost. Like, like so you just stick every label on there, hope it all fits, and then, of course it didn't fit. But then we learned and we progressed. But like, this is what you got to do: trial and error.
Exactly.
But yeah, man, I really appreciate taking the time, and I know I can go off on a tangent on a lot of topics and shoes because I just
right there
live it.
with you.
It's.
I'm right there with you, man. I love it.
I would love to talk to you about some of my collection one day, but well, I'm sure we could say that for another time.
Hey, we can spin a block another day. We'll come back. We'll go through your collection awesome. From your No Two Ways stuff, of course, to everything else you've collected. So we can definitely we'll make it happen. We'll do a collection video, collection pod with you. That'd be dope.
Because I feel like there are some shoes that you might not know that exist, like samples and such of all the big brands, right? Not even No Two Ways related, that you would not have seen before.
With it.
So that would be awesome. Like the amount of bread samples that I have, Jordan 1 bread samples, when they made that transition with the 85 and then the 94 releases, there is about, I think, 11 samples, of which I have 2. Of when they made that transition, because I'm sure you know, like the Nubuck swoosh and whatnot, and the change in midsole and all these things.
Yeah.
But to get to those from that original release to that final release, so much happened. For the longest time, me and a couple of other friends were like on the hunt for all of those. That's like the ultimate grail, right? Like when you get to the 85s, okay, that's a grail in itself. Okay, the 94s are still a grail as well.
Yeah.
But then you get to a place where you got them all, and then you discover there's samples. There's samples of stuff in between, and you're like, what? And then, of course, it's hard to identify what's fake and what's not fake. But at some point, you don't even care anymore, because I'll take the fake, I'll take the sample, you just don't you don't care anymore.
Those samples are tough, because it's like, you can't prove, like, no one can say, oh, it's fake. It's like, well, you can't prove it's not fake. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's one of those, you gotta have a story behind it, basically.
And a lot of them will have like backlogs of like stories, but also the sample tags and the owners of the previous. So there's exactly that. So there's a whole thing, as you know, I'm sure even better than myself. So that's just the fun side of it, and I hope that one day people will be doing this with our brand, like 50 years from now. This is some of the dreams that I have, where regardless of what happens with us now, I want people to be able to relive some of these moments in the time of need, because in my case, shoes have helped me in times of need, even when it's just being distracted, even when I need some money, even when I'm learning how to draw, and I don't know. I think you know what I'm trying to just send across. Like some people just get it, but it's like there's just so much meaning beyond just creating something or just buying something. It's just,
that's the community right there, man. That's what that's like the pure definition of the real like sneaker community, not just, again, back and forth money transfer, but this shoe has a meaning to me, or this, it's inspired me here. So no, I completely understand where you come from, dude. Like, I mean, I'll sit there and look at stuff. I mean, I'm nowhere near anywhere close to designer, but I can sit there and just look at it and just appreciate it. It gives me inspiration for things like, content I want to put out. So I'm right there with you, bud.
For sure. And it's interesting, right? Because there's so many shoes now, because I can't wear No Two Ways anymore, right? Oh, sorry. I only wear No Two Ways now, so I can't wear any other shoes anymore.
Yeah.
So the one on my side is like, all these shoes are just sitting here. Like every now and then I'll put a shoe on and I just wear it around my living room so the midsole doesn't crumble, But like, what am I doing? Like, come on, like I'm wearing these crazy shoes that people would like go crazy for, and I'm wearing them in my flipping living room. Like, what am I doing? Like, so this goes through my mind, but at the same time, there's something satisfying knowing that I've collected something, and the confidence that it gives me, even not putting it on, but just knowing that I have it in a weird way makes me feel like I belong. You know what I mean? And I know that's not the reason as to why you should get stuff, but like that feeling of belonging sometimes, especially in the space that I'm in, is really giving me confidence to know that I can do what I do. You know what I mean?
No, most definitely, man. I get that. Because there's stuff, I mean, I try to wear everything in the collection, but sometimes it just doesn't happen that way. But it's cool just to have a conversation starter, man. It's like, oh, yeah, I do have that one. I have this version or whatever it may be. So it's super cool. So we definitely, we'll circle back on that one. We'll have that conversation. We'll set up some time, man.
That'll be awesome. That'll be awesome.
Perfect. But shoot, everybody, we appreciate you joining. Love you guys out there. And, of course, always follow Rockwell. It's Rockwell Princely on Instagram. Of course, No Two Ways. Make sure you follow that as well. So we'll make sure everything's in the bio for everybody. But until next time, guys, see you.
Thank you.
Hey, everyone. This is Nick again. Before you take off, do us a solid and head over to Apple Podcasts to leave us a review. Give us a rating on Spotify and Amazon Music. And make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel because we have even more video content coming soon. Speaking of new content, we have an amazing community of sneaker enthusiasts that hang out in our Sneaker History Discord on a daily basis. While sneakers is a connection point that brought us all together, we've all discovered countless shared passions that we have in common with each other. We recently launched a couple of new podcasts directly from our community. One of them is a Formula One podcast. If you're an F1 fan like me, the Exhaust Notes podcast is your weekly fix of Formula One fun. It's hosted by myself, Rohit Malhotra, and Todd Yates. New episodes drop every Tuesday. I've been wearing fitted hats for years and collecting my favorite teams since I was a little leaguer. It has been awesome to see so many new fans getting into fitteds in recent years. Crown and Stitch is our new talk show about fitted hats with Dexter, Keith, and myself, where we talk about fitted hats, snapbacks, throw in some obscure hats because we all kind of like some funky stuff once in a while, don't we? Copping, collecting, and so much more. New episodes drop every Wednesday. Hit the links in the show notes for this episode to give our new shows a listen, and be on the lookout for more new podcasts dropping soon. Last but not least, tell someone you like their kicks today. You never know how far a simple compliment can take you, and we all know how good it feels to have someone show their appreciation. Thank you all for the support, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Peace.